Greetings, beloved Princeton United Methodist Church community. This is Pastor Jenny, and I am reading today from Jonah, the 3rd chapter, verses 1 and 2. The word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time, saying, "Get up, go to Nineveh, that great city, and proclaim to it the message that I tell you." This is the word of life. Thanks be to God. We are continuing with our Go Tell It on the Mountain series, this post-Easter series, talking about evangelism, talking about beginning and ending with God's love, sharing and showing God's love to others, being able to proclaim the good news to people, to a world that so needs to experience the good news, to experience the transformation that good news brings, the life that good news brings. And one of the beautiful things about Jonah is that Jonah gives us permission to notice our great reluctance around this. Jonah was an extremely reluctant evangelist. He did not want to go and do what was asked of him by God. He didn't want to go to the people that he was called to go to. He didn't want to do it. And he went to great lengths not to do this work that he was called to. And so as we think about evangelism, as we think about our call to go out, I invite you to think about, to allow the resistance that we have to it. Now, we've talked about resistance kind of all throughout, and some of that has to do with our own just uncertainty about a lot of things. But one of the things that I want to bring into this, that along with Jonah this week, is that sometimes it's not just the task that feels uncomfortable, which is a lot of the discomfort that I've talked about so far, but it can also be that God sends us to people that we aren't so sure we want to be connected to, that we aren't so sure that deserve the good news, or that will be recipients of the good news, or that we want to be in a relationship with if they actually do receive the good news. Sometimes that resistance comes because it invites us to hear things that we don't want to hear. And this morning I was actually talking to a congregant, and she used the term kind of self-evangelism. And on Sunday we're going to talk more about who are the recipients of our evangelism, or who do we think of when we are about kind of the tasks involved in evangelism. But I think she's exactly right, that one of the directions of evangelism is actually ourselves. When we, like Jonah, actually do follow or receive the word, the invitation, the call to go out and to share the good news of the kingdom of God that we have received through Jesus Christ, often there is work that's being done. I would say all the time there are ways that we are receiving good news, broader good news, more inclusive good news, deeper sense of God's mercy, as we are engaging in that call than we would have without it. We are learning something ourselves. We are letting the good news of God's redeeming grace, transforming grace, our own belovedness come into us more deeply, sometimes by the very working through the very sense of resistance that we have. So I invite you to name the things that you do not like about this call to evangelism, to name the ways that you are resistant and reluctant. And as you go through, this paper, this invitation, this set of invitations, name the things that are uncomfortable. Name the things that you're like, oh, I'll do all these things, but this one. And let this be a prayer. Let these things be lifted up. And then come again in our humble and beginner's mind place around evangelism. Humility and and a kind of beginner's mind approach, knowing that we don't know everything that there is to know, knowing that there is much that we are learning, that we ourselves need to receive the good news of Jesus Christ, of God's love more deeply than we already do. We are in need of evangelism ourselves, and that engaging in the process of it, engaging in the conversations, in the laments, in the protests, and all these things, and then hearing again, like Jonah, hearing a second time the word of the Lord, being called to go out and to share that love. There's something that happens in us as well as in the world and those people who we engage in the listening and the being and the conversations and the expressions of love that we are called to in this world. So, how are you doing with this page? How are you doing with other things you might be learning about or talking about in this process as well? You're invited to continue to engage and see how we might find our way even a little bit into and maybe even hopefully more big ways into this adventure of becoming evangelists, reclaiming our evangelistic roots that we receive from John Wesley and the founders of the Methodist movement, that is and from Jesus himself, right, who went and all was about sharing God's love in every way, all the places that he went. That was what Jesus did. So may we continue to grow in the likeness of Christ. May we continue to grow into our call as Easter people, resurrection people who are sent to proclaim and to live God's love in this world. Friends, there are many things going on in the life of the church. And the next few Sundays are kind of very special Sundays. On May 5th, that's not this Sunday, but the next Sunday, we have Youth Sunday. Our youth, our teenagers will be leading most of the worship service that day. And I know you'll want to be there to receive the word from them and to be led by them and to support them. The following Sunday, which is also Mother's Day, May 12th, you'll find our children's musical is happening. Oh, back to May 5th. The other part of May 5th and Youth Sunday is that there's a fellowship luncheon, there's a potluck after worship, and the youth will be also presenting a musical review. So they're leading worship, and then also the youth choir is sharing their ministry with us after church as well. So then on May 12th, it's Mother's Day, but it's also our children's musical. They have been working hard as well to bring the message to us that day. And then on May 19th, it is Pentecost Sunday. Big day for us, big celebration. It includes our Pentecost celebration includes confirmation, baptisms, newcomers are joining the church, a grand celebration will be happening that day. And then that evening, Pentecost evening, Pastor Taylor is going to be commissioned. This is part of her ordination process. This is a major step toward ordination for her. So she will be participating in the commissioning and ordination service at our annual conference down in Wildwood. That service will be live streamed, so you can participate there. But if you want to come down to Wildwood and to be part of that celebration in person with her, you are welcome to do that. So we'll be putting information about that service and how you can encourage her and support her in that. That is May 19th. That service is kind of the kickoff for our annual conference. And there are several of us who, our clergy. Your clergy always go to annual conference, and there are an equal number of lay people who also go. And although those lay people do change over time, but Iona Harding, Ida Cahill, and Isabella Dugan are the lay members to annual conference from Princeton UMC. So we will be there on behalf of Princeton UMC, and we will certainly be reporting back after that. what's happening right now, just to make it all, there's lots of conferences that happen. So that in May is annual conference. It's the Greater New Jersey Annual Conference. It's all the churches that are part of the Greater New Jersey Conference. But right now in Charlotte, North Carolina, is our General Conference, and that is a worldwide gathering of United Methodists, and this is something that happens usually every 4 years. COVID and other things knocked that off schedule, but that is happening right now, and there's information in the happenings that can tell you how to find out more about what's going on. Friends, it is always a joy to be on this journey with you. Remember that you are enough because God is enough, that you were created for joy, and it is such a beautiful thing that we get to journey through joy and enoughness and the fullness of life in Jesus, life, death, and resurrection together.